The meta is starting to stabilize, and OTK Demon Hunter is still showing amazing signs of being one of the best decks in Hearthstone. In less than 48 hours, there have been several players that have already hit Legend with a new variation of this OTK Demon Hunter archetype. There's a few different tech decisions, we'll get into that in a second, but I just wanted to highlight a few players' successes with it because this list, I really feel like, is probably the most optimal list that we'll see. Before we begin this deck guide, don't forget to like this video and to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to see more guides like this in the future. The first person that I saw post this particular deck list was zlsjs after he hit rank 1 legend after climbing on the first day. And honestly, I didn't see this deck while I was doing my own legend climb. I was climbing as soon as the reset happened, and it took about 9 hours for me to hit legend. You can check out the clips on the Twitch channel. But regardless, I tried out this list myself around Diamond 5, Diamond 4, and I easily cruised into legend with an 11-star bonus trying out this deck. And I just have to be able to share this list with you guys because a lot of these tech decisions really just make a lot of sense. But before we get into the tech decisions, I want to quickly go over why you should play OTK Demon Hunter in case you're on the fence about trying this archetype. The main reason I love this deck is because of the flexibility that comes with it. This is one of those Hearthstone decks that really challenges the player to really understand the win con of their deck and to understand why they're throwing out cards versus just, oh, okay, I'm going to throw out my AoE because my opponent went white on the board. There's a lot of situations to where you need to play your HELLSCREAM blasts in order to clear stealth minions, or maybe you have to just, heal up for as much as you can in order to stop your opponent from threatening you. Like, there's a lot of different niche situations that you have to be able to identify in order to maximize your win rate with this deck, which can lead into a lot of interesting games and a lot of powerhouse turns, which is, again, another reason why I love this deck is because there's insane combo potential in case you need to be able to deal insane amounts of damage, but there's also, a flexible amount of lifesteal cards in order to play, so in case you just need to hit, like, that sweet spot of 24, then it's really easy to do. And like I just said, 24 is usually the magic number when it comes to OTKing, so right here, I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys a damage chart, one of my own design, because there's a lot of charts out there, but I really didn't find one that had a lot of the more simple combos, because the biggest thing about this deck is being able to combo with 1 or 2 Moargs, because there's a lot of situations where you have to play them out for removal or playing them out for healing. But regardless, I hope this chart will be able to help you guys understand just how exactly you're supposed to be able to piece together this combo. And spell damage, don't take it lightly because it can really help you out in being able to close out a lot of close games. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the list and the card decisions behind it. Every single OTK Demon Hunter list that I've played has run 2 copies of Double Jump, and the only reason why I'm listing it in this video is because it used to be that Double Jump was just such a useless card, but I really wanted to just hammer in how, like, some cards just literally need a little bit of time in order to be busted, and now Double Jump has the time of its life in this deck. The 4 Outcast cards that you play are Philosophy, Spectral Sight, I-Beam, and Skull of Gul'dan. And there's a lot of situations to where you might want to use a Double Jump in order to just play it on turn 1 to draw as soon as possible. Situations to where you want to try and find Skull on turn 7 so you can immediately outcast it, or even situations to where I-Beam is the only outcast card left in your deck, and you want to play Double Jump to try and find Lethal because, I-Beam as soon as you draw it costs 1 mana. So there's a lot of situations to where Double Jump is not only good for just drawing out your cards, but it's also good for literally winning the game. So like I said, flexibility is the name of this deck. But the card that's probably getting most people's attention is actually Throwglaive, and I'm going to just go ahead and say it. Throwglaive is the nuts. Against Rogue, against Druid, against any deck that you need just a lot of removal against and you just don't want to play your Immolation Auras, this is a primo card in order to give yourself a ton of space in case you're not getting lucky off of your draws. And also, it's just an easy card to just throw it out of your hand in case you're not really looking to get rid of your combo pieces. But regardless, this is mostly in the deck because the Druid matchup is not necessarily your strongest. It's actually one of your weakest matchups out of the entire spreadsheet. But regardless, Throwglaive is an insane removal card that I would highly recommend that you start running in your decks, because there might be situations to where you even play it with Moarg to where each Throwglaive deals 4 damage. I've already talked about this card in a previous video, but Ildari Studies is another amazing tech card that leads to a lot of flexible ways of dealing with boards, clearing single target minions, as well as just being able to find more ways of just dealing damage or even finding more Moargs. Like, Ildari Studies is just such an amazing card that was added to this deck from the Dark Moon mini set, and honestly is part of the reason why I believe that this deck has skyrocketed in power level, because flexibility is the name of the game, and this is just another one of those cards to where your opponent kind of can't play around it until you play whatever outcast card you discovered. And the last tech card in the deck that we'll discuss is Zephyrs. I'm still not 100% sold on him, to be honest. Like, there was only like 1 or 2 games that I really got value out of them, and one of those games I think he actually did make a difference. But the main reason why I believe Zephyrs is in the deck is because you don't want to really run a lot of the other tech cards that are out there at the moment. He's just a really good flexible card, and again, like I've been saying, flexibility is the name of this deck. So just being able to have him as an optional a turn 2 3/2 minion, being able to get an AoE out of him, or maybe even like that last bit of burst damage because you had to throw out your Zephyrs combo, or I'm sorry, your Il'gynoth combo. So there's just a lot of ways that Zephyrs can be useful, and that's the main reason why you run it in the deck. Me personally, I like the idea of running Ooze or running Cult Neophyte in the meta right now, because mostly Ooze because of the weapon decks that are very, very popular, and Cult Neophyte in order to be really good in the mirror, and also to stop Paladins on some of their key turns. But regardless, there's just not a lot of other cards that you would want to run over Zephyrs, and it's just like, it's one of those times to where you run this card because of what it can do, not because of what it does every single game. So against Paladin every now and again, you might want to just play your Zephyrs on turn 2, so that way you have a minion being able to contest, but don't expect to get too many triggers out of your Zephyrs. If you're on the fence of playing this deck because this card is in here, just sub it out for either an Ooze or a Cult Neophyte, and I believe that you'll probably have not necessarily the same amount of success, but it's going to be extremely similar. Like I said, I personally am not sold on it, but all the other Legend players seem to be in agreement on this one. Now let's move on to the Mulligan. The Mulligan is a little bit tricky because not every single match has the for sure keeps like a lot of other decks usually do. But usually when it comes to this deck, you want to be able to keep Double Jump, Ildari Studies, Chaos Strike, and the weapon against most aggro decks in order to give yourself the most consistent way of being able to draw out your cards. These are the cards that I keep in most matchups, and you can also argue that keeping Spectral Sight when it's on the far left of your hand is also viable, and I even go so far to keep Skull to the far left of my hand when I'm on coin. That's a general advice for most games, but what about specific matchups? Against Rogue, you want to keep Immolation Aura, Chaos Strike, and the weapon, and you only want to keep the Moarg when you have your Fell Blast combo to go with it, because there's a lot of times to where you want to be able to play your Moarg in order to not only clear your opponent's board, but to also heal your own face. So I would try not to keep Ethereal Aug Merchant or Fellscream Blast if you're not able to get the Moarg immediately with it, because it's not necessarily about the removal, it's about the healing that you really need to be able to take advantage of, and maybe if you have nothing else to keeping Fellscream Blast by itself against Rogue may help, but I would not recommend it because stealth is really hard to play around, especially if you have your opponent that's positioning their minions very well. The Paladin matchup is a little bit tricky because usually I would recommend keeping Moarg and Immolation Aura if your opponent is on the coin, so that way you can counteract their Allura high roll turn as early as turn 4, because if you have the Moarg Immolation Aura, usually 3 damage is the threshold that you have to be able to kill, because like that's the most amount of HP that the minions have when they come out. More importantly, it kills the war leaders. There's still going to be like the Circus Amalgams and also the Crab Riders that you have to deal with, so maybe giving it spell damage can help if you're trying to clear the entire board. But regardless, against Paladin, I will usually keep the Moarg and the Immolation Aura, and there are some instances where I will go so far to keep the Skull if I believe that they're going to get Nozdormu as soon as possible. So the Paladin matchup is a little bit tricky, and some people say it's unfavored, but I've actually got a positive win rate in this matchup, particularly because if they play Nozdormu as early as turn 3 and you just have the combo in hand, they kind of can't stop you. So that's the reason why I like to be able to keep Skull, because it just helps me get my combo as fast as possible. The Warrior matchup is a little bit harder to know exactly what deck that you're playing, but it's generally the same strategy because most Warrior decks are really slow. Even in Rage Warrior, it takes a couple of minutes for it to get rolling onto the board, unless it has like a really early turn 3, turn 4 copy minion play. But regardless, you want to be able to just, keep the cards that help you draw out your deck the fastest, and if you're assuming that it's an Enraged Warrior, maybe keeping a little bit of removal and some AoE is nice in order to get rid of the Armor Smiths and the Risky Skippers that can come down pretty early. So the specific cards that you would want to keep would be your Double Jumps, your Chaos Strikes, and specifically your weapon, because being able to deal 3 damage is very key in this matchup in order to not only kill the minions that I just listed earlier with the Armor Smiths and the Risky Skippers, but there's also minions like Bomb Wranglers and Corcoran Elites, so you just want to be able to remove them as fast as possible because it's really easy for Enraged Warrior boards to get out of control. And lastly, when you're playing the mirror, the whole point of this matchup is just to play the Skull for discount as soon as possible. You don't need to fight for the board, you can just throw out a lot of the cards that really don't matter, but the whole point of this matchup is just to draw. Playing for tempo can be an easy way in order to pressure your opponent on their key turns, but you're almost never going to win with just, playing minions and being able to pressure your opponent that way. You only win by drawing your OTK as fast as possible. So you want to keep your Eldari studies for card draw because it's a combo race. It's 100% just draw the Il'gynoth combo, kill them as fast as possible. It's not very common that you're going to go up against aggro Demon Hunter since it's actually being completely pushed out by not only OTK Demon Hunter but also Soul Demon Hunter. But if you're suspecting that you're going to be going up against an aggro Demon Hunter, just keep the same mulligan that you would against Rogue and you should be okay. The mulligan to Soul Demon Hunter is actually very similar to the mulligan against Enrage Warrior because it's a very similar matchup in terms of where things really aren't that pressuring for you until suddenly your opponent plays like a really massive board. And in this case, the Sociologist Militia is really going to be the big card that you have to deal with. So try to have a combo ready to deal with a bunch of 3/3s and a 5/5. But like I said earlier, more people are likely to play OTK Demon Hunter, and if they're not playing OTK Demon Hunter, they're playing Soul because aggro is just not as common. Now that we know how to mulligan against the meta, let's go ahead and jump into general strategies and comboing. If there's one thing that I want you to take from this video is that you don't always have to win with the combo, especially when you're fighting aggro decks. There's a lot of ways to where you can just easily mitigate and control the damage that your opponent can exert, because if they end up playing all their minions and then you destroy all of it, and you know that your opponent only has like 4 or 5 cards left, then suddenly if you're at 30 HP, it really doesn't matter if you don't have a way to kill your opponent. Eventually they'll just exhaust themselves. And every now and again, this is how you easily destroy the rogue matchup. So the best way to answer when you remove minions is to remove the threats that matter, not every single minion. Do you need to get rid of an entire board because your opponent is a class that is able to buff up their cards? Then maybe you should probably get rid of those boards because you don't want suddenly 4 or 5 damage to suddenly pressure you to become 8 or even like 10 damage. There's a lot of times to where like you really have to be able to know what your clock is, how many turns you have left before you die, and just being able to remove the key minions is the biggest challenge of this deck. So there's a lot of times where like you're fighting a Ramp Paladin, they play Nozdormu and they have a bunch of other minions. Maybe you just kill the War Leaders and the Nozdormu so that way there's not a lot of damage that's hitting you in case you don't have a better way of clearing the entire board. But regardless, this is just one of those key tips that I can provide for playing this deck, because you don't always have to play cleanup every single turn. And not having to clean up every single turn actually kind of ties into my next bit of advice with this deck, and that is using your HP as a resource, because you have plenty of healing, guys. Trust me, you have plenty of healing because Moarg doubles your healing. Double is a very powerful thing in Hearthstone, especially when you start stacking spell damage and multiple minion targets on top of it. So as long as you have a way of keeping yourself alive and you're able to count the cards in, like, I would highly recommend using a deck tracker, by the way. But if you're able to count the cards in your deck in order to know how much damage and combo you have, it's really easy to throw out that 1 copy of HELLSCREAM Blast, because you don't need to save that 1 copy for your combo. You need to be able to survive in order to get to the combo turn in general. And speaking of comboing, getting Skull of Gul'dan discounts makes this combo so consistent even before turn 10. Like, I don't even cast the combo on turn 10 half the time because the Skull of Gul'dan discounts are really that powerful. The best card to get the discount on, without a doubt, is for sure Moarg Artificer. Because if you play Philosophy on a Moarg that is discounted to 0, it's a 0 mana Moarg. There's now 2 0 mana Moargs in your hand, so let's quadruple the damage. However, the biggest thing that I just have to stress: do not confuse your 0 mana Moargs with your discounts with Raging Fellscreamer. Because if you end up playing a Moarg that costs 0 mana after you play your Fellscreamer and it eats up that discount, there may be a situation where you have a 2 mana Moarg in your hand that you may not have remembered that came from a discounted Fellscreamer or from a Skull. So really make sure that you know where your discounts are coming from with this deck, because you would hate to lose your combo, right? But what I'm saying is prioritize your turns around your Skull discounts when possible. Don't lose the game just because you're trying to discount your turns, because clearing the board is more important than your discount turns. But whenever you have the chance, slap that Skull, get those discounts, and cheat the game away. But that's my main strategy when playing this deck. Draw, heal and remove the board when needed, and then combo your opponent. It's a gross oversimplification of something that's very complicated when you're actually in the game itself, but those are really what the deck comes down to. You just gotta be able to keep yourself alive until you throw out your combo, and if you can't throw out your combo, you just really don't have a lot of ways of winning. And keep in mind, if you're not using your combo to win the game, then you have to win by outlasting your opponent. So if you're fighting an opponent with lots of armor, then that's probably not going to be the greatest strategy. Last but not least, let's go over some tips and some advice in order to get yourself in the perfect mindset for playing this deck. The number one tip that I have to recommend is to understand your plays. Know why you are playing your AoEs and why you're playing your removal. Because it's not just about just removing the boards that are in front of you, it's all about achieving the combo. If you don't need to waste your Immolation Aura on a whole bunch of 1-2s, maybe hold it off for a turn until your opponent plays like maybe like a threatening 4-4 or like some kind of threatening minion to where maybe you want to play your Moarg and Immolation Aura in order to remove as much as possible. And keep in mind, Lifesteal is aplenty in this deck. So just because you're at a low life total doesn't mean that you can't pull a Reno Jackson in order to put yourself back on top. But more importantly, what I mean by understanding your plays is knowing what you're trying to set up. And trying to get your skull as fast as possible is exactly what I'm talking about, to where maybe if it's in the middle of your hand, playing the left side of your hand as soon as possible in order to get that skull in outcastable position is the best thing that you can do. There's a lot of games that I will be showing in the clips ahead that really showcase this skill particularly. So this is probably like the number one thing that I would recommend is, again, trying to get your skulls out for outcast value as soon as possible and as consistently as possible. But if you're not able to do that, then understand the reason on why you're not supposed to go for the skull, which would be to stay alive. Number 2, counting is important. I'll say it again. Counting is extremely important in this deck. I will reference the chart one more time just so that way you guys understand the numbers, but you really gotta understand what you are trying to achieve with this deck. It's not only about the damage you're trying to exert, it's whether or not you have the mana in order to do it, which is again why the skull discounts make such a big difference, because getting that 0 mana Moarg or that 1 mana Il'gynoth is almost like cheating out this combo. So like really understand the numbers behind this and you'll become a pro with this deck in no time. Number 3, sometimes you are the control deck, not a combo deck. So especially against aggro matchups, you just want to focus on out-removing and out-healing them rather than just going for the combo. I know I've said this a lot, but this is an extremely important matchup in order to understand, because this is where most of your wins can come from, especially against Rogue being the number one aggro deck that people seem to lean to at the moment. This is like one of your primary matchups where you're going to get most of your wins if you play it correctly. You're going to lose every now and again to, you know, the standard Rogue getting exactly what they need, but in more times than not, you have plenty of removal and, more importantly, more than enough healing in order to deal with what aggro can exert. And the last tip at number 4 is to try your best to never overdraw with this deck, unless you absolutely have to. And even then, try your best to never let that kind of situation happen. You really never want to overdraw with this deck, because if you overdraw your Il'gynoth, your combo is literally dead. When it came down to games to where I really needed the combo, there's only been one game out of maybe the 200 that I have played to where I maybe had my Il'gynoth destroyed, but I ended up winning with Zephyrs. It was only one game where that happened. So if you need your combo and your Il'gynoth is just, it's destroyed off of the top of your deck, you are just not gonna win the game. So try the absolute best that you can to never put yourself in a position to where you're going to be able to mill a card if you can't play something out from your hand. Skull turns are the biggest thing that make this a little bit complicated, because I would recommend that you always play Skull for outcast value, even if you're going to fill up your hand, because there's a lot of times that you're going to be able to play a card from Skull, no problem, so that you can just, you know, toss it out, be back at 9. But really take this idea with a grain of salt, because if you end up playing Skull and then you can't get rid of something, you're just going to have to bite the bullet of what happens, and you really don't want to do that as this kind of combo deck. But there you have it. That is my guide and tips on how to play OTK Demon Hunter in order to hit Legend. If you guys have any questions about something that I didn't cover, feel free to leave it in the comments below, and I'll feel free to answer your questions as soon as I can. I'm going to go ahead and attach some games in my most recent Legend climb that happened in the past 2 days, which is part of the reason why we haven't been seeing a lot of videos recently, because I've been really focused on improving my MMR and my ranking in Standard, as well as doing Open Cups. And, you know, fun news, everybody. We actually got 1 top 8 in the first weekend of Open Cups, which is honestly, if you don't get, you know, a qualification, that's pretty much the second, third best thing that you can ask for in a weekend of Open Cups. So maybe something could come from this competitive grind. So maybe you guys might see some kind of video in the future that talks more about that. But until we get a qualification, I'm not going to jinx it. I'm just going to keep doing my best to keep playing. But thank you guys so much for the support in the esports realm. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the clips coming up ahead that'll really showcase to you guys on how to play this deck properly. As always, the deck code is down below for anyone who wants to try out this archetype. If you want to try and catch these clips live, we stream at twitch.tv/Clark HELLSCREAM. I hope you guys enjoy becoming the illest legend around, and we'll see you for the next video.
Illidan
What you should ask is how do you lose with the Allura coin value on 4? And that would most likely be against Demon Hunter or against Demon Hunter for clearing things, against Rogue for aggroing you, or against Warrior for clearing things as well. I kind of want to keep a Studies, because against Rogue it's actually been extremely useful. Like, finding the rush minion has actually saved me so many times. I don't know if you were here during that last game, Draco, where we were able to kill 2 questings, but yeah, that was definitely nutty. Most certainly nutty. Alright, we take Consume Magic every time, because literally freaking questing adventure scared the hell out of me. Easy druid things. It's pretty nutty power level right now. What, on the Studies? I would definitely agree. It looks like a slow start. Ooh. I think I want to coin that. Yeah, look at that value. Alright, can I clear this side of my hand for the skull? Probably not. Probably cannot get that value as easily as I'd want to. Oh no, I don't have ooze! I don't have ooze, chat. I have to draw like there's no tomorrow. Somehow. Oh my god, this gets out of control so easily, dude. I feel like this is just probably the better Rogue deck, honestly. It's a pretty good deck, man. Pretty good deck. This isn't going good, guys. This is going very bad. It's going real bad. Did I make a big goal? Bro, I still haven't figured it out. I'm focused on so many different things right now, it just seems a little insignificant. And I was literally talking about it earlier, how like a big goal, like, it's not a bad idea, but I just don't like the idea of asking people for money like that. And I know that's probably not how I should look at it, but it's how I do, unfortunately.
You're paying for my discretion.
Do I take the I-beam, or I think clearing the minions is more important. I-beam would have been the same amount of damage anyway, so yeah, it adds up. Okay, let's get out of range. Isn't a sub goal also asking people for money? I mean, that is a completely different thing. Like, a sub goal is how people, like, if people want to sub to the channel, that is something that they can do. Bits is 100% different, because you literally you buy money for more bits, and if you're unless you're literally gifting subs, which a lot of people don't do, you're not throwing your money into it. Subs can also be like they could be free from Amazon Prime. But if I have bits and the sub goal, I don't know. I feel like that's just a little too much. Like, I just don't want to do it at the moment. I think at the moment is a bad idea. And also, I should have played the Moarg over here, because I would have freed up the skull. That was a big mistake. I may just have to play out the Moarg, honestly, because I need the healing. That might just be the play.
You're paying for my discretion.
Imagine hitting Ilganov.
Power has
Play for Lifesteal. If you make it funny, I don't think people mind big goal for stash wax. You know what? That might be a good idea. Like, oh, that's so good. I got Consume Magic, but that's still so good. I
smell blood.
Ow. Bro, take it easy. I only have so much life to do. Taking care of business. God damn. Oh wait, that actually works.
Power has its price.
Does anybody else know that song? I mean, I hope
has
y'all
its
do. I hope
price.
you're not too young for that.
Power
Taking
has its
care of
price.
business every day. We're taking care of business. Go TMCA. That last part I improvised, so that way they can't, you know, raid my channel. You know, we're working overtime to strike streamers because the copyright material even isn't theirs, and they should be punished for it regardless.
A cruel fate awaits you in the ashes.
Imagine buffing that Big Daddy. What Big Daddy?
A little something I whipped up.
Talking about the crossbow? Thick Daddy. Alright, well this... Goodbye.
Alas, poor warlock.
Okay, can I survive one more turn? Is that too much to ask? I need spell damage still. Who knows, maybe with the weapon this will be enough.
Home in the shadows.
Okay. I'm alive, that's all that matters. But I may not be for longer. Oh man. No.
Cruel fate awaits you in the
Okay, I'm alive.
ashes.
I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm alive. I live. I live to tell the tale. Blood Mage.
Home in the shadows.
I think Blood Mage is literally it. That or Philosophy, maybe? Yeah, Philosophy too. Philosophy or Blood Mage. Or Eldari Studies define it Philosophy. Spectral Sight. Okay, so I need a count here. This will be 0. This is 6. Plus another 6. That's 12. I need Philosophy.
I see.
This could find Philosophy. It's actually guaranteed to find Philosophy. Oh! Damn, dude. Let's go. 2 more wins and we got it. Well, if I keep fighting rogues and I keep getting the hands that I have been getting, just, you know, keep them coming.
This ends now.
I'll feed on the rogues. Do I keep Throwglaive? Probably not good enough. I like the idea of keeping double jump, but not both of these. Yeah, let's go ahead and just get rid of that. I think Throwglaive is... It could work, but there's ways it can't. At least this is just draw. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Skully Gul'dan. Not really what I want to see. Let's drink some water. Hydrate. It's a slower rogue. I like to see that. I'll probably need to trade into it next turn. Buffing the Big Daddy. The Big Daddy is Moarg, man. The Big Daddy will always be Moarg. Who even needs to buff Il'gynoth when Moarg's the reason why this deck works? Like, doubling in Hearthstone is always gonna lead to some wacky combos. Like, that is a damn fact. Spectral Sight. Another Philosophy. Oh boy. Maybe I should have played this instead of Tunnel Visioning. That was, you know what? That was actually a punishment for me Tunnel Visioning. I was 100% focused on like the wrong thing. That was a huge misplay.
From nothing, power.
Alright. So now that we got that misplay out of the way, let's top deck Moarg. So I can just bam bam and a bam. Because I'm probably just gonna have to play Philosophy no matter what. I've got the other one in hand. It's not like I'm running low on them. And if he plays a secret, I can play around secrets. Quote unquote. Ah, rude. Really teaching me a lesson about not playing my cards. Who knows, maybe I'll just literally get lucky and hit the 0-mana Moarg. Because then I think that actually does it. If he can't kill me over the course of 2 turns.
Spin like the sun.
Uh-oh.
Strike like the winds.
Oh, God. Oh, that's gonna fill up your hand real quick. So let's, okay, so yeah, Skull into Immolation Aura, Moarg is like the best draw. But realistically, I will stand for at least 1 Moarg, Immolation Aura, and something else. I really need it. There's a HELLSCREAM Blast. Gotta just YOLO it. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We got the 0-mana Moarg. Okay, good start. Great start. We've got it next turn.
My hand is too full.
Only way he only way he stops this is by killing me, but he has no way to develop on the board. So he's got to do it with spells, or he's got to kill something. So he's got 8. So he needs 9. Abyss does it. What mage card would he want? If anything, going for a rogue spell would be better, wouldn't it? If you return the Ethereal Lackey. 1 scoop 6. Thank you so much for the follow, man. No, don't tell me you got it. That's not enough. I don't think. No way! No. No. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. Oh my god. Oh. Not okay. Not okay, dude. Not okay. It's not throw.
You're paying for my discretion.
Oh my god. 1 HP. One more. Final boss, final boss, final boss.
Illidan versus
We're fighting a paladin and he doesn't have the coin.
I
Good
will
start.
fight with honor.
I have the Moarg.
Ends now.
And ooh. Do I go for the ballsy keep? This is a ballsy keep. This is a ballsy keep if I want to go for it. I can't keep the Mulligan off. It's too ballsy. Okay, so like keeping this is good, but keeping this too ballsy. Can't do it. So help me if Il'gynoth is the last card in my deck. There's gonna be some problems here. No matter what, we're gonna take every single we're gonna think over every single possibility. So we're definitely gonna play Ildari Studies first. That's like for sure. Rush minions are good. And that's just it. I don't think we need the glide. No, we don't take glide. We're not at a disadvantage right now. There was an argument to coin the Spectral Sight, but I'm gonna save the coin for a more pressing situation. Considering how this guy's just probably gonna hero power, I can literally just 1-1. Come on, baby. Let's see how bad my MMR is compared to everyone else who's hit legend. There's still only 32 people.
I must move quickly.
I really wish I kept the Il'gynoth now. Because of the philosophy. Doctor side again? Okay, that's fine. Oh, asking you shall receive, my friends. So now I have to kill that and hope he gets Norse Dormo, and then just, you know, style with the combo. Mavi Nefer, thank you so much for that follow, man. Good to have you here. Hopefully we will win very soon, just for you. Because here's my idea. What if I coin, play the 4-drop, and I just have the combo ready to go? But I don't have the combo ready to go yet, though, is the issue. It'd be so funny. It'd be the most hilarious thing ever if I did it that way. Skull cannot be cast right now. But you know what? It can if he plays Norse Darmu. Extra dip 0722. Thank you so much for that follow. Good to have you here. Hopefully you're having a good time. What are you doing, step bro? We're just chilling, man. Nothing else. I think I'm gonna bait it out. And worst case scenario, like he trades and then summons a 4 or 5. I think we can just go for it. Because if it happens, then I draw easy card, play Skull, because there's no bad draws.
In time.
Alright, let's make this happen. I think that literally does it next turn. All I need is a lifesteal card.
Warlock.
I could find I-beam with this. I think I got this next turn. What is this, turn 5 lethal? Because even if he plays the freaking whatever, the tip the scales. Top deck I-beam wins. Top deck Hellscream Blast wins. Top deck more spell damage I think wins. I-beam and I win. Yes! Oh, that's legend, boys. Let's see where we place. Yeah. Woo! That was a 7-3. 7-3 final run in order to get there. Let's see where we place. There's gonna be 33. Am I the worst? 30, that's pretty far down there, but you wanna know what? Good enough for me. Ugh, yeah, get fucked, dude. Played into my strat. I wanted him to play the Nas, and he did. And he did. Oh my god, dude. Let's go. Legend already. It only took 9 hours.